Alright. So, now we're going to do the critical analysis of Scene 1 and Scene 2 of Act 1.
Oh, we are?
Yes. Don't start it. So first of all, I want to tell you why we're doing this to begin with. Because when you're in 8th, 9th grade, you do recall, you do plot. But now we have to get into more deeper elements of the text. Subtext. What does subtext mean?
Details.
Sort of. What does sub mean as a prefix? Sub.
The second team.
What does submarine mean?
Underwater.
Under. So sub means under or beneath. So subtextual means beneath the text. So we're digging underneath the text to find what's there underneath. That's where all the bulk of the information is. Because art is a vehicle for Art is a vehicle for a message, right? And the message we're not going to find in the plot. The message is what we're going to find in the subtext. Okay? Do you have a question?
Yes, I do.
What's your question?
That word, I can't say that. Calpurnia. Well, six showpiece.
Now let's begin. So the scene. Bye. Scene 1 concerns Morellus and Flavius, two Roman officials. Y'all remember this scene? Where they're out in the street with the laborers and the tradesmen? And it seems like an arbitrary scene because there's not much going on as far as plot. The plot of Scene 1 is as follows. Morellus and Flavius come out there, they find a bunch of people not doing what they're supposed to. They get into a spat with a cobbler. And then they disperse the crowd, and then they take their decorations down. That's what happens plot-wise in Scene 1. But there's a lot more stuff going on subtextually. That's why we're doing a critical analysis of it. So let's begin with point number 1. Morellus and Flavius, low Roman officials, attempt to reestablish civil order after crowds celebrate Caesar's victory over Pompey. So Scene 1 establishes the people, the citizens of Rome's love for Caesar. And that was Caesar's greatest currency, if you remember from the documentary, is that the people loved him. You remember that how they had, how he used to stage the gladiator battles that everybody loved?
Yeah.
The crowd loved Caesar. So Scene 1 establishes that a couple different things. One, that people love Caesar. 2 would be that this is a transitional time because Pompey was the most powerful man in Rome up till this point, and now it's Caesar. So there's this transition period between one power to the next power. And if you've ever seen in like third world countries or developing nations, when one tyrant goes down and another tyrant goes up, there's often this time of chaos and disorder. And right now it's kind of a time of chaos and disorder because when Morellus and Flavius come out, they're like, what is all these people doing out here? Because they're not in their uniforms, they're just out in the street celebrating victory. So they come up, they're like, what trade art thou? And they ask them, what trade art thou? Or what is their trade? Or what do they do for work? Because the tradesmen are not in uniform. Now think about it. If you go into a mechanic shop, what do they wear? A jumpsuit, right, with their name on it.
Yeah.
And you can spot a mechanic because they're going to have like oil stains on them, or they're going to look dirty because they have to be under the cars and stuff. And that's just what they mean by what trade art thou, and they can't tell what they do for a living. And they ask all these people what they do for a living. But the tradesmen, the workers, aren't in their uniforms, and they're not at work. And they ask them, is this a holiday? And they say, yeah, because it's Lupercal, and we're celebrating the victory of Caesar's victory. So symbolically, this represents a breakdown of the social order because nobody, the two Roman officials don't understand what's going on, and because nobody has their uniforms on, it just seems like chaos because they can't tell who's who and what's important. Okay. So they have a little spat with the cobbler that we saw, and then they ask the people to disperse. And after they disperse, they take these decorations down that the people have up. They call them ceremonies. And one of the ceremonies that they had was, by this time Caesar was a very powerful general, so he had statues of himself throughout the city. And they put on a mock or a faux crown on the head of Caesar's statue. So when the crowd puts the the faux or the mock crown on Caesar's statue, what do you think that represents symbolically?
Him being king.
Or their want for him to be king. Yeah, you're right. It's their want for him to be king. So latently, what Scene 1 is telling us is that there is a transitional period. It's a little bit chaotic. And the citizens are entertaining the notion that they might want to make Caesar king, which makes the Roman officials and then consequently our conspirators very weary about the Caesar situation and about him becoming king. And then Morellus and Flavius take it off. They take that false crown off the statue. So what do you think that represents?
Them not wanting.
Exactly. Them not wanting to be, not wanting Caesar to be king. So that's basically a breakdown of Scene 1. So establishes the mood of the crowd, the tone of what's happening in Rome right now. It's kind of chaotic, and that there's this whole undercurrent of what's going to happen with Caesar and what the people of Rome want, which is that they might want him to be king, but we're not sure. So let's jump over to Act 1, Scene 2. I've subtitled this Deconstructing Caesar. And deconstructing means that we're kind of taking him and look at him bit by bit or piece by piece. And specifically, we're going to look at his weaknesses. So let's begin. This first little sub-scene within Scene 2 is a very seemingly arbitrary scene between Caesar Antony and his wife, Caesar's wife, Calpurnia. It is a holiday Lupercal, and there's a ceremonial race which Antony, his right-hand man, is running in. And Caesar asked Antony to touch his wife, Calpurnia, in order to, quote, shake off the sterile curse. So did we talk about what is sterility? What is it?
When she
cannot bear
give
a child.
birth.
She can't bear a child. So you might think, what is the importance of Shakespeare including this in the play? What's the point of this? And the point is to show a characteristic about Caesar, which is, it's not that Calpurnia probably can't have children, it's that Caesar is the one who's impotent. So what does impotent mean?
He can't have it.
Yeah, and it kind of implies even further that he can't perform sexually.
Oh, he can't have
Really.
sex.
Yeah, he can't have, his junk doesn't work for him.
That's how we
Yeah. So let's discuss this. So let's bring it back to the text.
That's how we
Let me explain why this is important. Let me explain why it's important. So, throughout history, Leon, throughout history, there has been a duality between sex and power. And specifically in these olden times of yore, if you will, sex or masculinity rather, and sexual power are kind of go hand in hand. Rhonda, will you sit down? You're distracting me. Thank you. There's a duality between these two things. And they believed, Rochelle, that...
Why should I even talk?
Tobias.
Oh, that's so nice.
They believed that there was this duality between sex and power. And they thought that if a man couldn't perform sexually, that he he was weak and didn't have power at all, because they believed that your masculinity comes from your ability to perform sexually. So because his penis didn't work literally, they believed that they believed a person like that didn't have power. So what this is illustrating is that Caesar is weak physically, or he's weak. His power has started to wane. He's losing his power. Does this make sense? Does this seem outlandish, or does this make sense? Huh? It makes sense? Okay.
If they don't know how to do it, then they ain't got power.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
I know. If they don't know how to do it, they don't know.
It's not that he doesn't know how to do it. It's not working. Like he needs Viagra. In other words.
But they ain't got no Viagra.
Yes.
I know.
Exactly.
And like he could bear a child, but he was bad at it. Was he still a man?
But it wasn't more about, like, we're not really considered whether they were good or bad. We're just considered whether they can or not. And Caesar can't. Or it's implied that he can't, rather. We don't know, but it's implied that he can. So all this is illustrating is that Caesar his power is weakening. That's what this means. Does everybody understand that? Alright, we're going to move on. So, next we're going right here. Soothsayer, a prophet. So the next scene, we jump and it transitions to this scene where the soothsayer runs up, and what does he tell Caesar? Beware what? Beware the Ides of March. Which is March 15th. Now, at first, Caesar doesn't hear the soothsayer, so he turns to Brutus and he asks what was said, and Brutus replies. So the soothsayer says, beware the Ides of March. Caesar turns because he doesn't hear him, because he's actually deaf in one ear, which we'll get to. He turns.
He's old.
Yeah, he's getting old. This is, again, to go back to this other thing, we're not talking about 40-year-old Caesar or 30-year-old Caesar. We're talking about 60 or maybe 70, yes?
I wasn't going old.
What?
Did anybody ask you when you were born? I don't know, right?
Yeah.
I was definitely when I started very.
I'm going to continue now because I have a limited amount of time. Let's continue. So, he turns to Brutus because Caesar doesn't hear what the soothsayer says. He says, Brutus, what did that man say? And Brutus says that he said, beware the Ides of March. Now, I've written down here, it's ironic that Brutus would tell Caesar to beware the Ides of March, as he will be one of the main conspirators that will assassinate Caesar on that date. Yes?
But does he know that?
No, he doesn't. That's why it's also ironic. So it's foreshadowing two different things. This scene is foreshadowing two different things. A, that something bad is going to happen to Caesar on when? The Ides of March. Also, it foreshadows that Brutus is going to be
a killer.
a killer, or one of the conspirators in this scene. Does that make sense?
One of the murderers.
Does everybody understand how this foreshadowing is working?
Yes.
Yes? Okay.
Well, I am.
So this foreshadows Caesar's demise, and it also foreshadows Brutus's involvement in the plot. Okay? Cut that out. Alright, everybody jump to the last column. It says scene 2 continued Cassius and Brutus. And this is the scene that we left off on Friday. This is the scene where Cassius is trying to test the water to see where Brutus is, because he needs Brutus's help in order to go through with this plot. Because Brutus is close to Caesar. He's a friend of Caesar. And Caesar distrusts Cassius that we saw just today.
I know they're too loud.
I know, there's nothing I can do about that. Let's keep going.
Next door.
Let's keep going. We're almost done. So first of all, when Cassius is talking to Brutus, he's filling Brutus out, seeing where he is on it. And he begins that by flattering Brutus, telling him he's such an honorable man, and all of Rome is, sings praises to his name because he's a good, noble Roman. And then Brutus kind of drops a few hints about how he's displeased with Caesar. And so, as a result of that, it kind of gives Cassius the green light to go ahead and kind of talk junk on Caesar. And talking junk on Caesar, he tells two different anecdotes, which continues the deconstruction of Caesar. And these two stories are as follows. One, he relays the story about how Caesar challenges him to the swim match. You remember this? And then, that's the second one. This is the one where he challenges Cassius to a swimming competition, which he loses and almost drowns, and Cassius has to save him. You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the second one is what Kaylin just said, which is when they were in Spain, Caesar has a bit of epilepsy, and Cassius talks about how he cried out like a little girl, and so on and so forth. And he does this to, if you look at the last bullet point on that section, these two stories, these two anecdotes provide evidence that Caesar is a mere mortal and no God, as the crowds would have them believe. So this demonstrates three different things. Caesar has lost his power sexually, and thus his power in his masculinity. He's lost his power physically, that he can't take care of himself, like the whole swimming incident, and that he's lost his power, or he's lost his health, like his health is declining as well. So there's three different facets. But there's also There's also another side of the coin to this, which is what happens next, which is Caesar's kind of sizing up Cassius. And when Caesar sees Cassius, he says, Caesar would fear Cassius, for he is, quote, lean and hungry look. For Cassius is lean and hungry look. Now, what does lean mean? Lean.
Oh,
Not lean, but like lean.
Oh, I'm like,
Being big.
Sort of. It means skinny. It means thin. So but if he's thin and hungry, all right, answer me, Leon.
What?
If I said that the wolf looks lean and hungry, what would a lean and hungry wolf do? Try to devour you, right? Exactly. So a wolf that's hungry is going to try to find prey, right?
Yeah.
Is going to try to find prey. And basically, Caesar picks up on this. Caesar picks up on the fact that Cassius has a lean and hungry look, sort of like a wolf does. And this metaphor Caesar extends when he says, Caesar wishes Cassius were fat.
So he wasn't looking at that.
Sort of. What is he implying about? If the lean and hungry types are the ones that are ambitious, and the lean ones are the ones that are ambitious and hungry and out for prey, then what are the fat ones probably doing?
Lazy and
relaxed, and they're not trying to be ambitious.
They don't give two blanks what they doing.
Exactly. They don't get two blanks
Like
what
Leon.
Caesar's doing. Good. So that's kind of a metaphor, the thin metaphor versus the fat metaphor. But what this demonstrates about Caesar's character is that though he may lack power, and he may lack physical strength, and he may lack his health, he still has what?
Popularity.
Not well.
He has
Okay. He does have some power of people through his voice. And what else? That he's what? He's cunning. He's still cunning. He still has his mind.
He's still smart.
Yeah, he's still smart and intelligent. He's clever. Because obviously a person like that didn't get the power for being stupid.
Could have been on the board tomorrow.
Maybe.
I need it, boy.
Okay, maybe. Well, we're not done. You still have the rest of class period to do it. All right, everybody.
Class almost over.
I know, but I need you. We're almost done. So just sit, and we're almost done. Tobias, look at the board. So, everybody look at the next bullet point right there. Caesar asked Antony to speak in one ear because he is deaf. Symbolically, Rhonda and y'all sit down. Y'all distracting me. Caesar asked Antony to speak in his right ear because his left one is deaf. And this represents that he can only hear one side, Antony's side. He's literally deaf to good counsel, to wisdom. Like the soothsayer. He dismisses the soothsayer.
Oh, so he's not really deaf, he just...
No, he is really deaf. And I do mean that literally. Like, he's deaf, well, I mean it literally and
So you saying he
figuratively.
can't hear out this ear, but he can hear out this ear.
But what I'm saying is it's symbolic too, because literally he can't hear, but also figuratively he can't hear. He's not taking the heed.
He don't care. He cares he only listens to Anthony.
Yeah.
What's his name? Antoine?
Anthony.
Anthony?
Yeah.
Well, it's spelled like Antoine.
It almost is. So, and then, let's see. Then we have that last thing with Casca.
How many minutes?
Casca reveals his dislike for Caesar and is invited to join Cassius for dinner, where Cassius is going to seek to recruit Casca in their plot to assassinate Caesar. And lastly, Cassius reveals in his soliloquy his intention to trick Brutus by sending him forged letters praising Brutus and accusing Caesar in order to ensure Brutus will be completely invested in the conspiracy. Because Brutus is the key. And if Cassius doesn't have Brutus, then it's probably not going to work out.
Brutus is Caesar's best friend.
Yeah, they're
trying to make him seem like Caesar been talking.
Not that Caesar's talking, because Brutus knows.
All that, but Caesar's, getting down there. And
Brutus and Caesar are friends. But, however, even though they're friends, Brutus realizes that it would be bad for Rome if Caesar became king. And Cassius knows this, but he's worried that he might go back on his word because they are friends and he's noble to the state. So what he's going to do is forge letters from...
To make it seem like Caesar sending it to him?
Sort of. He's going to fake these letters that will like flatter Brutus and about how noble he is, and then also talk down on Caesar too, and kind of accuse Caesar of doing bad things.
Oh,
so hopefully that these faked forged
to
letters.
make both of them seem like.
Well, to make Brutus be completely invested in the plot and make him go.
Oh, okay. Okay, I get that.
Okay? Alright, so tomorrow's the quiz over scenes 1 and 2. Tomorrow's the quiz over scenes 1 and 2, all this stuff that we've been doing today. So spend the rest of the class period copying this down. If you have questions,
Man, my eyes.
Like everybody